Hey guys, welcome to Anfield Index, the final whistle podcast, game week 12, and what a cracker it was. Spurs thumped Man City 4-0 at the Etihad. Arsenal put 3 past informed Nottingham Forest. Enzo Maresco takes all 3 points against former club Leicester City. We'll talk about that, there's some news in there. A thrilling 3-2 win for Arne Slot's men. That puts them 8 points clear. We'll take that all day, every day. Aston Villa share the points with struggling Crystal Palace, and no new manager bounds for Manchester United as they share the points with new boys Ipswich Town. My word, another fantastic week, Ben. Ben, welcome to the live stream, if you're watching live.
Yeah, another good week of football, wasn't it? We've had quite a few on the bounce now. It's kind of feeling a bit too good to be true, but we'll get in and break it all down, and we'll get into it. Really enjoying it.
We are indeed, and let's talk about Let's talk about Liverpool. Southampton 2, Liverpool 3. 8 points clear. Looks good. I was a bit stressed. How were you?
Yeah, it was a really stressful one. A lot of dodgy decisions, and they made it really hard for us. But it's one of those where you've just got to get through in the end, and that's exactly what Liverpool done, and that's what true champions do. So I'm over the moon, and really good after the international break to start with a win. So really, really good.
It was, for me, there were some things that really affected the Reds' performance in that one. I felt like there were some really wretched yellow cards that kind of affected some of our defensive play, like, for example, Kanate. I felt like I was expecting a poor performance. I really was. But then when I kind of go into it, our defense is always like quite solid and assured. And it had a few ropey moments in there today. I'm hoping we iron that out with the games that are coming.
Yeah, I think that was the most annoying part, was because we've grown so used to the defense this season being so watertight, and Van Dijk and Kanate being so calm and composed. But yeah, today I don't know whether it was a mentality thing or they just seemed to be a bit lackadaisical. And Southampton, in fairness, punished Liverpool. So, but yeah, and then like you say, the yellow cards, Kanate and Bradley both being booked in the opening stages, was tricky to deal with, especially with the likes of Diblin. But like you say, it was one of those. I wasn't expecting a really, really good performance. It was one of those where you just got to take your chances, and in the end, we managed to get over the line.
I don't want to do this, but I feel like there were some really, really questionable decisions in that game. And Lallana was a very lucky boy. The comms didn't really make a big deal of that. He should have been off, in my opinion. That was. I mean, if Roy Keane is saying that's a red, then it should be a purple. I'm concerned, like it was so bad, and it kind of got overlooked until they kind of brought it up in the halftime analysis. And of course, that penalty as well. I mean, there were some positives, Szoboszlai getting the goal. But yeah, what did you make of that Robbo thing? Because again, the penalty shout, it went to VAR and they couldn't find conclusive evidence that it was outside the box, so therefore they just ran with it.
Yeah, it was a really strange one, because I thought the referee was going to just give a free kick, and he seemed to give a penalty and let it go to VAR. But then once you do that, obviously you need some pretty good evidence to overturn it, which, to be fair, I thought they had. I mean, I've seen plenty of angles where it seems outside the box, and I was saying on Twitter, I don't see how you can foul someone in the box when the player that you're fouling isn't even in the box. It doesn't make any sense to me. But
for me, the contact is when it starts, right? That's when it all happens.
Yeah, and I've seen Southampton fans saying, Robertson's foot was on the line, so it's a penalty, but that's not where the contact happened, so that's irrelevant. It was a really, really frustrating decision, and that on top of the Lallana one, like you say, when Roy Keane comes out and says someone should have been sent off against Liverpool, it's normally the right decision. But yeah, Lallana was really lucky.
He really was, and of course, then it gets worse for Liverpool. They go 2-1 down. I think everyone was quite shocked at that. I thought, oh gosh, what is going on here? But I feel like Liverpool tend to be a better team in the second half, and Slot made some subs. And I felt like as soon as those subs were introduced into the game, I felt like the complexion of the game changed. And I felt like there was more intensity and more aggression with the attacking play, with McAllister, of course, coming on for Jones, and Diaz coming on for Gakpo, and then more Salah. My word, I mean, that guy.
Yeah, he's never, you're never in doubt when Salah's on the pitch. You're always, because I thought he had a pretty quiet game until about 60 minutes where he seemed to come into life as Diaz and McAllister came on. But yeah, the midfield was getting played through far too easily. McAllister sorted that quite well. And, I was surprised that Gakpo came off because I thought Gakpo was having a good game, but Diaz was electric when he came on, and the pressure in the end just got to Southampton. And I'm not sure what their defender's doing for the penalty with the handball, but we'll take that every day of the week.
Yeah, there were a lot of defensive mishaps from both teams, and you kind of expected that from Southampton. I was just quite shocked from a Liverpool perspective because the defense has been our talking point, our solid point. I'm quite gutted that we conceded 2 goals in that game. I'm just, it was just one of those.
Yeah, like I say, that's probably been the biggest positive of this season is the defense. So to concede 2 to a Southampton team that I thought were really poor in general. Yes, they had a lot of fight, but quality-wise, they were really lacking. Yeah, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, but if you said 3 points is 3 points, 8 points clear. If you said that at the start of the season, we all would have been absolutely over the moon. So, yeah, just got to keep this form up, and lots of big games coming up, which we need to be better in. But yeah, it's still momentum nevertheless.
It is indeed. And I threw a curveball at you, but I feel like the live stream people need to hear this. Real Madrid, we don't beat them in the Champions League. Last time I think we beat them was in the Rafa Benitez era. Would you take that win or hammering Man City?
Hammering Man City all day, every day. I can't wait for next Sunday. I mean, I'm going to the game on Wednesday, and I can't wait. But that game against City is going to be huge. And in the Champions League, you can afford to lose, let's say, to Real Madrid and still go through in the top 8. With the games that we have left, you'd fancy us to do pretty well. So, but we cannot afford to let Man City back into the race when we've built up such a good gap. The last thing you want to do is give them kind of hope, and that's what Kyle Walker was saying in his interview. I think we've got to go to Anfield and get the win. So the last thing you want to do is give them an inch because they'll take a mile. That's just what Man City do.
They do indeed, right? I think there's loads of content about Liverpool. So we'll move on to the next one. Let's talk about the next Sunday game because, we like to work in that kind of order. So let's talk about Amorim, new manager, not a new bounce for Manchester United. It finished 1-1. You and I are big fans of Ipswich. It's kind of I kind of enjoy watching them. So, I mean, what did you make of this? A really early goal for Rashford. I think he needed it. It felt like things were going in the right direction for Man United. But for me, they were the same. Toothless, abject. I thought if any team was going to win, it was going to be Ipswich again. It was a stunning goal by Hutchinson as well. I don't know if the defender got ahead to it, but a fantastic point for Ipswich again, considering they beat Spurs before the international break. But what did you make of that one?
I thought it was a really good game, to be fair. Like you say, United go 1-0 up, and you've got Amorim not celebrating the goal, smouldering at the camera like he's on Love Island. Really annoyed us, just be a bit happy. But yeah, from there you expect Man United to go on and kind of just walk over them. But Ipswich were really, really impressive, fought really well, and I really, really rate the lap. I think he'll go to a big club in the next few windows. And to be honest, I think he's exactly what United are lacking up front. But yeah, I don't know whether there's going to be a bit of a clash in personality because I feel like this group of Man United players have kind of been treated like babies from past managers, and I think Amorim's going to really try and rough them up. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond to it.
Yeah, I think he's definitely got his hands full and busy with that team and those players. I think some players will enjoy and relish playing under him as well. I think there's lots of talk about the strikers as well. There's loads of articles on EPL as well about Xerxes and that he might potentially leave and all that good stuff. But I think he's probably looking at those set of players and thinking, gosh, they don't press. They look a little toothless. There's a lot of work to be done. I guess, I think their promising players are probably the likes of like Mazraoui. I say it correctly now. We've got their game week 12, and even the goalkeeper's coming good for them now a little, probably the best out of the bad bunch, some big saves there. But towards the end as well, I don't know what it is about Ipswich, but they have this knack of, I don't know, looking like the team that's gonna, if they're in a drawing position, they look like they're the ones that are fighting for the goal and want the goal.
Yeah, that's what they were like in the Championship as well. So that was something everyone was kind of expecting. Is kind of they're not scared of anyone, and they showed that today. And I think the quality is starting to come through. The likes of Smodics and that are really starting to adapt to the league. And like we say, we've kind of been supporting them all season long. So hopefully they start picking up some more wins and make the relegation battle a bit more interesting. But yeah, I think Man United fans will be a bit disappointed they didn't kick on. Didn't kick on after that early goal, but I've heard only the best managers win away at Ipswich in the first game anyway, so we can't hold them too highly.
Yeah, a comment here from Damo saying, hopefully Amarim's United career peaked after 81 seconds when Rashford bundled the ball into the net. Oh gosh, absolutely savage. But yeah, I think he's got his work cut out. I think he'll be disappointed because I think in Man United's mind and from the fan perspective, and also the media hype, they probably thought that was an easy 3-point walk for him, to ease things in for him. And obviously, disappointing for him, but great stuff for Ipswich. And listeners, you'll know that I kind of like Ipswich. I don't know, they're fun to watch, let's just say. So yeah, that's where we are with Ipswich. I'm going to let you pick now. Where are we going next?
Man City Spurs.
Of course.
You could have guessed.
Really, I never thought you would have gone there. Right. So you and I don't enjoy the 5:30 kickoffs. We don't. They've been quite turgid quite recently, but this one, my word, Spurs doing Spurs things. Of course, lost to Ipswich before the international break. Absolutely hammer Man City. What were your thoughts about this one?
I couldn't believe what I was watching, to be fair. Like, Man City started pretty well, and you thought, oh, here we go, Haaland's going to score, and then he misses that chance, and James Maddison just turns the game on his head. Absolutely. Spurs right out the blocks, starting really well. So, and I think that's what you've got to do against Man City these days. I think the main thing for Man City at the minute is the legs have went completely, and Spurs kind of took advantage of that with the likes of Basuma pressing, and the Spurs just look like the better team. And like we've said that a few times about Man City recently, that the other teams just look better than them. We said it about Bournemouth, we said it about Brighton as well. And I think that's probably the most worrying thing about this run for City is that they're just not controlling games or anything anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Maddison had an absolute field day on his birthday. He got 2 goals there, and you're right. It wasn't like, I think that game could have completely turned on the head, like you just pointed out. Had Haaland put those chances away, because I do think even at 2-0 and 3-0, Man City was still having a go of it, and they were still sort of creating chances. And then, of course, easy to play through. I felt like Kulusevski is like a player that doesn't get enough credit or enough hype in the Premier League, if I'm being honest. When you look at certain players that get all the headlines, like, we've seen the likes of Cole Palmer, who was doing great things at Chelsea, but this guy doesn't get enough credit. I feel like when he clicks, Spurs click, and I feel like he's like and I think Son had, again, a fantastic game. The work that Solanke put in this game was absolutely exceptional. And Kyle Walker, I mean, the thing that everyone talks about him is his pace, and he got skinned a fair few times yesterday. I mean, Werner.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, that's another thing we've been pointing out for the last few weeks, where I was saying about Walker kind of losing his pace, but on that 4th goal, he gets absolutely. I haven't seen him get blitzed like that in a long time. But also, like, I've seen Walker getting a lot of stick, and Gvardiol has been really good this season, scoring a lot of goals, but even him defensively was getting kind of pulled all over the place. And then the midfield without Rodri, there's no legs there at all. And looking ahead to next Sunday against Liverpool, you'd fancy the likes of Szoboszlai and Jones to really outrun them, and I think that's where the game could be won.
Indeed. And obviously that's 3 Premier League losses for Pep Guardiola. And of course, he signed that contract extension as well during the international break. So, no biggie, just a trip to Anfield. From a Liverpool perspective, though, how do you feel playing this out of form, low confidence Man City side? Because even though they are in this position, they're a big threat. Like, I'm not, Liverpool needs to be cautious.
Yeah, I do think some people are getting a bit carried away with expecting it to be an easy game. It's not going to be that at all. They've still got the players, world-class players that can punish you. And it's almost as if, 5 losses on the bounce. I know they've got Feyenoord during the week, but another one just seems really out of the realms of possibility. But from a Liverpool point of view, this is the perfect time to play them. Our confidence is sky high. Their confidence is shot. And I saw Kyle Walker's interview after the game, and I've never seen the Man City players really dejected, and they really have seemingly lost all confidence. So yeah, it's a perfect time to play them, and hopefully we can capitalise on it. And 11 points clear at that stage of the season will be huge.
It would be indeed. Right. So we've done the big one. We've done the Man City game. What should we discuss next?
Let's go with Fulham Wolves, because Wolves have been kind of a talking point all season, haven't they?
They have indeed.
And they absolutely smashed Fulham yesterday.
They did. It finished Fulham 1, Wolves 4. So you know what? It was a 3:00 kickoff. It had all the goals, but it just felt like, to me, whatever Wolves got, they converted. And Cunha was just absolutely exceptional again. I feel like it's a copy and paste with him. We keep saying the same things over and over again. And the first goal that they scored, that Lamina cross to, oh my God, that finish. And then the second finish was just as a long range, absolutely stunning strike. And you and I, we spoke about Wolves running. And the fantastic thing here is this was the game that I thought they might draw because it's Fulham and they're in some good run form. And the fact that they absolutely blitzed them like that, and the ex-players from Fulham just did not even step up. I mean, I know Iwobi scored an absolute majestic goal and put them ahead, but great response from Wolves, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a huge win for them, because we were talking after that, I'm sure it was after the Crystal Palace game, where the fans were kind of turning on Gary O'Neill a bit. And being a former academy coach at Liverpool, I've kind of got a soft spot for him. And yeah, I think he had if they lost yesterday, I would have been really worried for him. But yeah, when you've got the likes of Cunha up front, he's been absolutely sensational. When you look at nominees for Player of the Season, I think he's got to be up there, because the team that he's doing it in has been struggling so much, but it hasn't stopped him at all. And yeah, yesterday, them 2 finishes were unbelievable, and I'm sure he'll be on the radar of a few top clubs in the coming windows.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, this is exactly, and I think for Fulham as well, I think sometimes what happens is teams peak too early, or they, and I feel like that we'll see a trend now. We'll see it with Forest as well, where they kind of bring it back a little, and they'll probably, perform to the level that you and I probably expect them to.
Yeah. Like you say, they've been doing really well, but you look at the overall squad, and maybe they were one of the ones that were overperforming. And I think there's a couple of teams that are up there at the minute that you could look at and maybe say they've been overperforming in the early parts of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. But credit the Wolves, because I'm sure that hopefully they'll kick on from that now and string together some wins. Like you say, they've got a favourable run in, so you'd fancy them too.
You would indeed. Right. I'm going to pick the next one. I'm going to say we discuss Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest. So it finished Arsenal 3, Nottingham Forest 0. A fully fit squad to me for Arteta. It looked like he had his main boys out. For me, the biggest takeaway from this was everything was happening because Odegaard was playing. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
Like, It literally was like and I'll talk about the old Arsenal, but it just goes to show how crucial he was. Yeah, he didn't get on the scoring. He did get an assist and stuff, but he was just there in tight spaces, finding his team player. He's just such an intelligent footballer, and I think he is like the heartbeat and the soul of this Arsenal side. And with regards to Forest, I know Wood didn't start, but they just looked very off it. This, like I felt like this was maybe a typical Forest performance that I kind of expected from previous seasons.
Yeah, like I said, when I was talking about Fulham, Forest were kind of in my mind about them teams that have been overperforming.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty simple win for Arsenal. And like I say, Odegaard was brilliant. Everything went through him. And you look at like this isn't any kind of disrespect to Szoboszlai because he was brilliant. He was really good today, and he does a lot of the hard work that goes unnoticed. But when you look at the way Odegaard links up the play and creates assists and goals constantly, I think that's kind of what we're wanting from Szoboszlai in a way. But obviously that's not. I really like Szoboszlai and his hard work, but in terms of numbers, you struggle to find a better number 10 than Odegaard, and it will be a massive boost to them having him back. And I'm sure they've got a pretty decent run in now, so you'd expect them to start getting the season back on track. And maybe, who knows, maybe by this point next week, we're looking at them as the main kind of team that we're looking at to drop points rather than City.
Well, it is a crazy season, isn't it? I mean, anyone can literally beat anyone. And I feel like this season so far, it's lived up to the hype of the best league in the world. Because before, I just felt like you're just saying it for the sake of saying it. Truly, like, anyone's for the taking, and I think that's why it's so fascinating. I mean, you look at the top four, the competition for the top four spots, and the relegation. At the bottom of the table, it's just so tight and congested, and that's because there's no runaway in either way. So yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Let's talk about the next one, and it is again a team that is surprising people, but not really surprising given the amount of money they've spent. We want to talk about Chelsea and Leicester City. So it finished Leicester City 1, Chelsea 2. What did you make of this one? It was the early kickoff. It gets things going for us. Some big news from this one as well.
I thought it was a really good game, actually. I mean, Leicester didn't offer much, but I was quite impressed with Chelsea. It was kind of one of those mature performances that have been lacking from them in recent years. But yeah, obviously, like you say, Steve Cooper's been sacked. But Leicester consider Ten Hag as their new manager. I actually think Van Nistelrooy might get it, to be fair. So not far off. But yeah, I thought it was a bit harsh to sack Cooper, to be honest. They've had an all right start of the season. And I mean, losing to Chelsea isn't exactly the worst result, but they were quite uninspiring, weren't they? They didn't really create much or show much kind of ambition in the game until late anyway.
No, they didn't. And even, I mean, a little shout out to maybe Enzo Fernandez as well. Gets a start, gets an assist, gets a goal. But for me, it was just a defensive cock-up by Fairs. I think that's how you say his name. Completely messes it up. And then, obviously, Enzo Fernandez pounces back on it, finds Jackson in space, who I thought had lovely composure. And I feel like he's proving his haters and critics wrong. I feel like he's having a decent season for them. Puts the ball away. I think for me, one of the most funniest parts of this game was Cole Palmer being denied a goal by his teammate.
Yeah, my FPL team didn't find that so funny. I had Palmer in, he done absolutely nothing. But yeah, it was and I've had Haaland in for about 7 games now, and he scored maybe twice. So maybe it's just my luck. Maybe that's the charm. Yeah, maybe that's a good luck charm. But yeah, it was funny. To be fair, I kind of feel bad for Madueke. Everyone's been having a go at him, but the logical thing there is for Palmer to just roll it across the floor rather than hit it straight at him. I mean, there's not much else Madueke can do other than jump out the way. But everyone seems to think it's his fault. But yeah, it was a funny moment, and like Chelsea deserved the win. They were in control the whole time, and like you said, Jackson's really, really impressing me. To be fair, he's having that composure that I think a lot of people didn't think he had, and that finish for the first goal was brilliant. So yeah, Chelsea, if they keep it up, there's no reason why they can't get in the top 4. And like you were saying there about the league being really tight, I looked last night, and if Tottenham had beat Ipswich, they would have been 3rd. And like the amount of times we've spoke this season about Tottenham being really poor and all over the place at times, and it really goes to show that a couple of wins in your season can transform completely.
This is the problem with Spurs, right? So they hammer Aston Villa 4-1. and then they lose to Ipswich, and then they beat Man City 4-0. Like, it's just, maybe they're just turning up for the big boys. I don't know. But like you said, they were just a little bit everywhere. Again, a really funny moment from this game was, of course, Jordan Ayew gets a penalty. And it was poor. Like, Sanchez almost got his hands to it. And Cooper getting sacked. You found it harsh. I saw your tweet.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just when you look with the squad that he has and the injuries that they have, can he really be doing much better than what he is, or is the person that they're going to bring in doing much better than what he is? I don't know. I'm just not convinced. If they've got someone in mind that's a bit more ambitious and maybe pretty on the eye footballing wise, and if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. But when we look at other teams in the league, that doesn't always guarantee you results. So it might be another one of those where it's careful what you wish for, or maybe they might get David Moyes in or something, then to try and keep them up. Maybe, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see which route they go down.
It will. I'm guessing they probably have got something lined up, because I feel like they probably just thought, let's just give him one more game after the international break, see, and then, I think it has been thought, and I'm sure we'll hear some developments on that. And like you said, you spoke about Van Nistelrooy. I think EPL had some articles about that potential as well at Leicester City. So watch this space. Second manager that bites the dust in the Premier League, Steve Cooper. Where should we go to next?
I was thinking Bournemouth Brighton, just because I really enjoyed watching that one when I was watching it back.
Yeah. Let's talk about this one. I think two really exciting teams.
Yeah. Two really well coached teams as well. I think when you're looking at like managers in the league at the minute, I think the two managers of them two sides, Iriola and Hurstler, some of the football that they've got them playing is mental. And like, not to bring it back to United, but we were looking at Ten Hag for years and thinking like what philosophy and what ways he's trying to make his team play. And these two have come in and just nailed it straight away. And they're probably the two, other than Liverpool, if I had to choose any teams to watch, them two would definitely be up there at the minute.
I agree, and no surprise that both teams actually beat Man City as well. So, it just goes to show that, their style of football and their pedigree is really good. Of course, João Pedro gets a goal. I thought even Ilson could have made it. He had a really good chance. He did score a goal. It was offside. I think, again, another talking point, refs, and I think Belieber sending off. So it was 2 yellows. The first one was a classic yellow for me. The second yellow was just ridiculous. I don't know what he got booked for to be sent off. I mean, this is what frustrates me. I mean, we actually spoke about the Chelsea game. We completely forgot that indeed he should have been sent off.
Yeah.
That was a proper 1980 challenge. And it got completely overlooked. And then this guy gets sent off. This is the inconsistency. I think this is why we get really frustrated. But yeah, I mean, your thoughts on this one? Because I don't think that's a second yellow. I'd be really, really annoyed at that.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those where I'm sure it's Kirkes kind of overruns the ball, doesn't he? And it's actually more of Kirkes goes in for a tackle, wins the ball, and the second he starts rolling round, holding his ankle, it makes it look worse than what it is, and the referee's going to think, if he's caught him and it's hurt him that much, it's a yellow, and then obviously it's a second yellow. But yeah, I agree. I thought it was harsh. And he's a really good player, Belieber, as well, so he'll be a miss for Brighton.
He will be. He'll be a massive miss. But yeah, of course, Brooks did get the consolation goal from a corner, but it was too late in the day. I just felt like Brighton were just far superior in this one. And I think Bournemouth will bounce back. I think they'll know that was a tough game, but they are very good to watch, very easy on the eye. Had those early chances been converted, I feel like it would have been a little bit more, maybe they could have nicked something from that. But yeah, where to next?
Let's go with Aston Villa Crystal Palace.
Oh, could you not do the turgid one first?
I was thinking we could leave that at last. Yeah, just leave it at last.
All right then. So let's talk about this one. Aston Villa 2, Crystal Palace 2. Aston Villa to come back from behind twice.
Yeah, they're on the rocks a little bit at the moment. I'm sure that's 4 games without a win now. Across all competitions, anyway.
Missed the penalty as well, right? Tillman's missed the penalty as well, so they dropped points here. I mean, that should have been an easy win, but I felt like Palace looked a little bit more decent in this one.
They look more like them. Yeah, they looked more like the side from the end of last season. They looked a bit more like expansive in the way Glasner wants them to play. They're missing Eze at the minute, I'm pretty sure as well, aren't they? So once he comes back, that's another kind of attacking player that can bring in. But yeah, it's a good result for Palace. It's one of those kind of to get you back on track and then you can build off it. But for Villa, it's really frustrating. I don't think it's anything to worry about. I mean, they came to Anfield and we beat them, but I don't think there was any like major warning signs really. I thought it was just Liverpool were simply better than them and got the win that they deserved. So I'm sure they'll get back on track. But I think top four is going to be a tough one for them this season, with the way Chelsea and Tottenham are now all of a sudden deciding to play.
It's very true. And of course, I thought Henderson had a really good game for Crystal Palace. I thought some crucial big saves from him. I think Martinez at the end as well made quite a big save. But I'm going to be honest with you, I could not get over the 23 design in Martinez's hair. It just felt like trying to be young or something. I don't know. I just couldn't get past that. That threw me off.
It's such an Emmy Martinez thing to do, though, isn't it?
It is.
It just suits him so well.
I should not be surprised. I should not be surprised. But Crystal Palace, I feel like maybe they are warming up now because I guess Glasner again was in a bit of hot bother and they just weren't playing and they weren't performing. And the fact that they actually, put up a bit of a fight, they'll probably be gutted that they, conceded and, they're having to share points. But that is a tough place to go and it's a good point for them.
Yeah, and like they lost a few players. I'll keep on mentioning Anderson's a big one for me that they lost in the summer. But also like the likes of Mateta and Eze aren't kind of firing on all cylinders the way they have been. I know Eze's injured at the minute, but if they can get them two back to at least 3/4 of the form they were on last season, I think we'll be fine. And I think it's one of those where we've seen it so many times in recent seasons where teams have stayed up just for the simple fact that there's three worse than them. They don't really need to be that special. I mean, look at Everton for the past God knows how many years. But yeah, I think the three promoted teams are struggling, so it could be a case of the likes of Palace and Everton stay up just because there's three really bad teams below them.
Absolutely. And you've teed me up so nicely. We're professional here, Ben. So let's talk about this one. Everton 0, Brentford 0. It was a 3:00 kickoff. A first for Brentford. It was their first clean sheet. Got to take the positives, right? This game was awful. And, from what the highlights that I saw as well. And again, there was a red card for Nordgaard. And again, he went for the ball against Pickford, and it got pulled back on the red. And you know what really pisses me off about this? I saw the post-match interview with Pickford, and he went, "Oh, he didn't see me, and he was going for the ball, and he was crying like a little girl, pointing at his leg to the referee, like did everything in his power to get him sent off, and then throws that comment. Like that is shocking."
Yeah, it's one of those. I hate when players are rolling around and mid-roll, they look up at the referee and like point at the leg and then continue rolling. It's one of my pet peeves. But to be fair, where he does catch them quite high. I think it's really unfortunate because he is just going for the ball, and it's one of those. He has every right to go for it as an attacker. But I guess anywhere else on the pitch, if you catch someone that high, it is a red. So I think it's probably the right decision. But yeah, the way Pickford went on about it. Him of all people talking about bad tackles is a bit hypocritical, but yeah. But yeah, I thought it was the right decision. And to be fair, even when they were down to 10 men, Brentford did have some chances, and I thought Visser and Lewis Potter, I think it was, had clear chances to win it. And Everton, it was just a same old Everton kind of performance where they don't create enough chances, and then they don't have anyone capable of taking them chances when they do come. So it's just. Everton have got to be one of the most boring teams in the league. Like if you had to choose anyone to watch, they'd be bottom.
Yeah, I think they would rival if you're struggling to sleep. I think they would rival Count Sheep. Like just watching Everton game, they are awful. I mean, although there was a positive, I did see Calvert-Lewin get a chance. Like he did make himself known that he's on the pitch because sometimes he's completely anonymous for me.
Yeah. I'm sure he's down to his last year on his contract as well. I was talking to Pat Nevin, a former Everton player, and I was asking him what he would do with him. And I think he might go in January, to be fair. Yeah, and I would get rid of him in January, at least get some money for him. before he goes on a free, and I don't think you'd miss him because I think Beto and Ndai is better than him. As simple as. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer, and it was kind of, I mean, it was a 0-0, but it was a poor quality game. If you look at the stats as well, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened, and yeah. It's just one of them. I think we're accustomed to those kind of Everton results and performances. I do follow a few people who support Everton on social media, and they're absolutely frustrated with everything that's going on and the style of football. They want Dyche gone, but I don't know what's happening with the new owners and the new takeover. It all just seems a little bit up in the air. So, Ben, I think we've talked about all the games. Of course, there is a game on Monday, which we won't be covering. West Ham versus Newcastle, a must-win game for West Ham, in my opinion, considering the season that they're having as well.
Yeah.
I think they've been so underwhelming with the amount of money they've spent, the quality they have. And Newcastle are in some form now, so I think this might be a good game.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting because we've got Newcastle coming up as well at St. James's. So I was talking to my friend who's a Newcastle fan, and he was saying like tomorrow is actually a big test because if they win tomorrow, then they are well and truly back on track. But if they drop points at home to West Ham, then they're kind of back to square one. But on the flip side for West Ham, I think if West Ham don't get a positive result, I think Lopetegui could be joining Cooper and Ten Hag as a sacked manager. So I mean, when he came to Anfield, talking about lacking composure as a manager. I mean, how can you expect your team to play like calm when you've got a manager like him on the sideline pulling his hair out and all the time? I think he's on thin ice as well.
Yeah, I under normal circumstances I wouldn't say it, but I think with the players that he has and the ambitions that maybe West Ham have, and again they have been busy in the transfer window in the summer. You can't deny that. I know they've got some loan players and stuff, so yeah, things need to click for them pretty fast. I think Newcastle have kind of warmed up now to the season. I think they were just kind of slow burners where they were getting the results, but the performances were rubbish, and then the performances and the results caught up together. And now, I think after that Man City draw, I think they've really kind of kicked on a little, and they look like a decent team again. And yeah, we'll watch this space. Ben, we've spoke about every Premier League game. I think we're pretty much done. Are there any final takeaways? Anything you kind of want to get off your chest about this game, week 12, which has been another cracking one, I dare say?
Yeah. Probably just the referees, and I don't like to kind of go in on the referees, but we've been through so many games there where it's not just small decisions; they're like key deciding factors where like
Ben,
giving a penalty against.
Can I just interrupt you? You're speaking about refs. The international break was pretty much lambasted with a certain referee.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
How could we forget? Yeah. I'd love to know if Michael Oliver's been to any after parties lately after the VAR decision he gave today. But yeah, it's just so many weird decisions, and like I said, they're not just small decisions; they're decisions that are really impacting games and can have a real impact on the table at the end of the season. So yeah, it's just, but like we speak about so much, it's like we're just going around in circles at this point about the refereeing.
It's true. It's very true. It's so deeply frustrating, but I'm glad that obviously as a Liverpool supporter, as bad as we were, the referee his decision could have been quite significant. It didn't pan out, but yeah, they just need consistency. That's all I want. Like that Ndidi challenge went unchecked, and then little things get blown. Like if you just stick to one consistent rule, then we'll understand them as well. Because right now, I don't know the rules because the referees don't.
Yeah, it just feels like they make it up as they go along.
It's true. Right, Ben, I think we have come to the end of this Final Whistle podcast. Before I let you go, where can people find you on social media and anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, so Ben Pescod Journal on Twitter is where you'll find all my work, whether that's for Anfield Index or EPL Index. I've got an interview. I'm interviewing Alan Smith on Tuesday. So there'll be some stuff on EPL Index with that. And of course, all the Anfield Index stuff as well. And on my Twitter, you'll find all my regular tweets and stuff. So that's probably the best place.
Wonderful. So do give Ben a follow. I want to give a massive thank you to everyone that's listening, everyone that's listened live. Really, really appreciate it. It was the first time us doing this. Yeah, it was fun. It was exciting. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Take care, and we'll catch you next week.